It's really going to come down to, yeah, who has a better idea going into this draft, and that's the beauty of Dota. It's a best of 5. It's meant to develop so much, but they're kind of getting to know each other. You know, this is what I can bring to the table, this is what you can bring, and you know, they're going to get to learn like what counters what. The meta is going to evolve a lot between the series.
And I would also like to point out that Team Spirit has been the most amazing learning team so far in this tournament, like how they are adapting and how they're learning and how they're actually changing up their own playstyle into something new every game. But I would say every team fight, when there's a bite happening or a Pangolier roll, this is when LGD need to get something done. Because if not that, they lose. This is like their main team fighting tools.
And now we're about to start the game, and we're going to have an interview with the coach of Team Spirit Silent along with Sumi.
那我走。
好好打，好好打，别送我兄弟们。
Smells like Team Spirit.
Это что за слова такие?
Smells like Team Spirit.
你这么菜，你的队友不会生气吧，哥哥？
Thank you very much, Sumi. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals of the International 10. Team Spirit up against PSG.LGD. Insania, it's a pleasure to have you by my side once again. How excited are you to see these two teams go head-to-head in this best of 5?
I mean, I'm extremely excited. This is bringing back memories of TI6, where you had DC make the miracle run in the lower bracket and going up against Wings at the time, and you have some of the Wings players on LGD's side. So I'm feeling TI6 vibes, and I think this Game 1 draft actually looks really, really good for Spirit.
Okay, what is it in particular you like about what they've done here in this first game?
I mean, I feel like, as NothingToSay had touched on, the way that the lanes are set up, I feel like they're going to have a really nice start to the game. And I feel like LGD is like really, really timing dependent. And they need to make sure that when they pop roll and they use the wolf fight on Ursa, they get a lot in the fights. And when I look at Spirit's draft, I see answers. They have the sleep, they have like 10 different stuns that they can throw out. And even if they burn the Ravage, I feel like the 4-man of their draft can still fight. So if they can get the Naga fat enough, if the Naga can ever join the fights and actually have a presence, I think their draft looks really, really nice to play.
And it's, you know, you've got to be excited to see it, right? Another game, Yatoro just continuing to show off his versatility of carry heroes. This is crazy here. Here in the grand finals, Naga Siren coming out. I mean, when you've seen how the man can play on all the list of heroes that he's pulled out so far, there's no reason to doubt that he can't pull out a top-tier performance on any of the carries available in the game.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, he's shown that he can play pretty much every single hero in the game. I've been so impressed by it. And the crazy thing is how flexible he is, too, and playing like, he can play hard carry one game, and then the next game he's playing tempo. And this has led to, I think, Spirit having like the versatility in their draft and the ability to adapt the way they have throughout the tournament is, in my opinion, a large part because he's so versatile in his playstyle.
Yeah, I mean, as sort of a drafter, you know, when you come into a series or against Team Spirit, what do you do about the fact that they have sort of this special power in Yatoro's sort of hero pool? Right? Do you just sort of ignore the carry? Do you still bother banning them out, or do you look elsewhere? Like, what is the best way to tackle this team?
I mean, if I knew the answer, I'd, you know, would have probably known how to beat them by now. But I feel like the thing is, they just seem to. You deal with collapse, then Yatoro goes out of control. You aim for Yatoro, and then you have collapse and TORONTOTOKYO going out of control. And I feel like a lot of this is heavily due to the fact that they play so well around vision. When I looked at the teams throughout the tournament, I feel like what Spirit has done that no other team does nearly as well as them, and I would even bring LGD into that category, is they control vision. They're really good about playing around wards. They understand when they can fight into wards, and they understand when they have to avoid it. So I think for Team Spirit, this game is going to be a lot about can they deward LGD, remove LGD's information, and have more information to play with.
Sure. And for PSG.LGD, of course, they've managed to charge their way straight to the finals through the upper bracket. When you look at what they've got here in this first game, what is it about this lineup that's worked sort of with the play style that they've been able to just destroy teams in their run-up to the grand finals?
I mean, this looks very similar to their tiny sort of draft, right? You're going to have this one core that's going to be unbeatable. They have this mid laner that's going to provide control and lockdown for them so that he's going to be able to output damage. You have the glimpse to bring people back to the Ursa. So the concept for LGD is very much like, we're going to hit our timing, and once we do, you cannot touch us. And I think for Spirit, the problem will be, if LGD is allowed to freely just get to their timings, get that Aegis on the Ursa, where they can start ignoring the Tide Ravage, or even fighting without the wolf bite from the LIMMP, that's when they're going to be at their strongest. So I'm expecting all hell to break loose after the laning phase.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to see it. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, finally getting into the action of Game 1 beginning between Team Spirit and PSG.LGD. Let's see if that chaos starts coming quick and fast. We know that both teams are very much able to bring it with some of the fantastic performances they've given us so far on the main stage.
Yeah, and straight away Yatoro's coming out with a really smart play. He sends his illusions within the tower range, but he puts them in an area where the tower doesn't have vision, and by doing that he will scout out the ward immediately from LGD. And this is what I mean, right? Spirit are so on top of all of the small things that will give them any sort of information advantage, where they will have more vision than their opponents.
Let's see if they're able to maintain it throughout the early stage of the game, where it's very likely for those movements to be coming from lane to lane. See both teams avoid one another here for the bounty runes. Bit of a poke onto Miposhka as Yatoro will still be able to grab that bounty rune. In fact, as you can see, 3 bounty runes to start things off here for Spirit, so a bit of a cash bonus to begin the lanes with.
Yeah, and that was nicely scouted out by the ET. They find information of where and how many heroes has LGD brought to which runes, and then they can split up their heroes accordingly and make sure that they get the advantage on the runes.
Let's look at some of these matchups. The mid lane, Pango versus Void Spirit, TORONTOTOKYO versus NothingToSay. What are we going to have going on here in the early few waves?
I think most likely it's going to be a pretty farm heavy lane. I don't think really either of the two heroes are going to aim to kill each other. Probably going to be a lot of trying to push out the waves, control the runes, and then around 6 minutes when the real rune spawns, that's when you'll see both the supports collapse on the mid lane, because I think both Pango and Void Spirit really rely on that rune control.
And looking at both sort of the side lanes, the 2 carries, LaNm and Yatoro, who's going to have the easier time?
I think if you take a look at top lane, you see Ursa against Tidehunters, generally a pretty good lane matchup because you think of how the Fury Swipes stack up on him, and they have the sustain to tank the harassment that's coming out from Team Spirit. So I think as they level up on the top lane, I imagine the Wisp Ursa will do fairly well up top. But with that said, I think Collapse is still going to have a decent game.
I mean, Collapse has definitely been that solid rock of a player for Spirit time after time. He's been the one that they have, been very happy to give that prioritization, get his game into a good shape so that he can be the one to lead the charge into the team fights and start the action off for Spirit in those mid-game.
Yeah, absolutely. And bottom lane, Yatoro's kind of playing this type of laning where you're not going to be pressured at all. Team LGD's priority here is just trying to get their Lycan farmed and make sure that they're playing for their own farm. So Yatoro's going to have a great start, and he has the ability to farm up the jungle because he has the illusions that can both push out the wave and farm the jungle camp. So I expect Yatoro to be leading the net worth charts as soon as we get into around the 5-minute mark of the game.
Yeah. One of the reasons why Yatoro has been as scared as he can, even if the lane was a tough one, he always seems to be able to recover. So the fact that he's going to have a decent time to start off things, you know that he will be on track to hit some pretty insane CS. It really is going to be completely down to how much PSG.LGD can find in terms of getting their Ursa involved in the kills early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just some trade-offs going on, but you can tell already from the net worth graphs that Team Spirit has set up their lanes to have very good farm on all 3 of their cores.
Certainly showing so far here on the early CS. Both side lane cores for PSG.LGD just struggling a slightly bit more. It was very early days though.
But a lot of levels coming in LGD's way. This Lycan is doing surprisingly fine. He's not really getting pressured that much by the Naga and the ET because he's managed to get the lane control. Yatoro's shoved out the wave, but Miposhka yet hasn't been able to get a pull to get the lane control back. So the Lycan's getting a lot of farm while Y is able to just rotate around, moves to the mid lane, opens up the small camp. And like we talked about, right, the middle lane is going to be contested in terms of who can push out the wave the most and then go farm the small camp. And Y on top of it runs over, unblocks his mid laner small camp to make sure that he can stay even with the Void Spirit.
And when you look at sort of the tools they have available both sides with their supports, do you imagine once the 6 is there for the mids, we're going to have sort of a collapse on the mid lane to try and get the early objective, or do you think it's going to be all about reacting to the side lane fights here for the Pango and the Void Spirit?
I think it's going to be important to get the rune. Whoever gets the first power rune of the game is going to kind of get to decide what happens. You get your bottle refilled, but you also have the ability to make a rotation as Mira.
Could be in a bit of trouble here. We'll try and hold back the bear with the Hex. He's got the stick charges, but he's getting run down here by LaNm. One more hit will do it. Can he close the gap? He can't. Oh, stun misses. That's going to cost him his life. Not the start there that Mira was hoping to have here in the grand finals. A whiffed ability, and that'll give it first blood to PSG.LGD.
Yeah, and Collapse isn't out of the woods quite yet. is hungry.
And a bit of an awkward position now, Collapse. Stuck behind the tree line. We'll see how he gets his way out of it. He does have a TP, a little short on the mana. He'll have it back up now. Should be able to walk his way back ground, but a great Bit of aggression there from PSG.LGD, just opening up some space for Arme to return to farming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you notice that LGD are keeping the lane control up top, so this puts Tide under constant pressure, and you never know when they might make some sort of move and try to kill him. And that forces Mira to stay in the top lane. While if you look at Y, you notice that he's just rotating around constantly. He has the freedom to move wherever he wants on the map, because the lane is so pushed out by the way that the Naga plays, and the Riptide shoving out the creeps. So the Lycan can freely farm under his tower, and the Disruptor has the freedom to decide what he wants to do.
Let's see what that call's going to be. We'll come in mid here. TORONTOTOKYO taking a bit of harassment from the Thunder Strike. Nothing to say. Stepping right up to him. There's a remnant at the ready though. TORONTOTOKYO.
2 seconds.
He's got the protection here of the Resonant Pulse.
And great usage there of that armor. He uses the health damage of Resonant Pulse to bottle up to make sure that he's not within the kill range of the Swashbuckle from Pango.
Oh, some good early pressure there from PSG.LGD, forcing TORONTOTOKYO to be very cautious in that mid lane as early as it is, just 5 minutes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you think about Elder Titan, you kind of think of him as a lane dominant hero. And both Notail and Seb touched on it, right? You want to abuse the fact that LGD have no stuns. But because of how this bottom lane is played out, with the Naga lane constantly being shoved into the Lycan's tower, the Elder Titan hasn't really been able to abuse his laning phase presence.
But look at this now. There we have it. Nice bit of micro from Faith Beyond. That'll grab himself a free courier. As the Wolves chase down the poor old baby faceless Rex.
Up top, Collapse is also taking pressure now. So again, the freedom of Y, he's just allowed to rotate to mid, set up some pressure on the Void Spirit. Now he's up top, making sure he's just in their face and forcing them to react to his movement.
Yeah, he's all over the place, Y.
Yep.
Spirit, definitely got to try and do something in return. Yeah, they themselves bring the 2 supports up to top. Just sort of figuring out what to do about this roaming disruptor here in the early minutes of the match.
Yep, here we go. First fight for the runes. Where's it going to spawn, top or bottom?
Let's have a look. It is going to be down bottom, and it is a DD. It's going to go straight into the bottle of TORONTOTOKYO, so a very nice room for it to fight with, but already up top, Spirit, they'll lose Mira.
Yeah, it's a DD TORONTOTOKYO though. Let's see how he can respond back with it, because now you have a Pangolier with low mana, and he's going to be aware of it. So he knows that he can make a move here, and the Pangolier won't really be able to respond.
Yeah, this is an excellent move for TORONTOTOKYO to find it. He's going to use it straight away. Goes aggressive. He's going to miss the Dissimilate though. A couple of hits will do it. Can he quite close the gap? No, he's not going to be able to get the second hit in. NothingToSay steps away. I mean, that would have been such a big kill for him to find. He got the dream room for it, but he couldn't quite get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate, but, you know, that's Dota. Disruptor, though, he's going to TP into the middle lane here. I'd be scared to do this. Let's see if TORONTOTOKYO has the will to chase him down.
Yeah, he's still got this DD going for a few seconds. Why? Living on the edge a little bit. Yep. TORONTOTOKYO feels that he can get in with the Astral Step. Why knows? He's keeping his distance.
Yeah, and if you take a look at the net worth, you see Yatoro. He's just going to start accelerating his farm even more, but I'm impressed by how well the Ursa's been able to keep up. And this is largely due to the fact that they had lane control for so long up in the top lane, and they were able to just keep their heroes, so the enemy heroes, so close to the tower, so Tide could never really feel free to farm.
He's going to try and step over for Mira, but again, Team Spirit, they've kept their 2 supports up here, both Mira and Miposhka, making sure that there's never the opportunity for Arme to get any kills up here right now. As you say, Arme doesn't care too much. Complete free farm, level with that of Yatoro's Naga Siren. He's having no struggles whatsoever, but Spirit just trying their best to limit anything else going into the hands of the Ursa this early.
Yeah, and you notice the Naga in the bottom lane now. She's just going to put her illusions on the lane, push out the waves, while she farms the jungle camps close by, and try to get ahead of the Ursa by doing this constantly. And LGD are going to try to match by using the Wisp overcharge to allow the Ursa to farm. And we notice both these teams are so good at stacking, and here we go again. Runes are spawning.
TORONTOTOKYO is going to be the focus. Quick jump away from the Rolling Thunder.
Yes. It's an arcane rune secure though, so if they can manage to survive these 70 seconds and nothing too bad happens, this is a huge rune for them to have.
All about these power runes early on, especially in a game, 8 minutes in, only the 2 kills so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tension, right? Neither team really has anything to do yet, and they're both drafting for slightly later timings in the game. The Tidehunters now finally hit level 6, so if there's an opening, look for some sort of rotation. I think it's hard to go for the Ursa, so there might even be the possibility of the Tidehunter rotating out of this lane.
Sure.
And making some sort of move at TORONTOTOKYO.
When you just look at the heroes that PSG.LGD have at their disposal, and you feel that Spirit, they're just not going to want to try and push into that tier 1 quite yet.
I think for Spirit, your expectation was to do slightly better in the lanes, but they haven't really been able to do so.
See, it's all right. Getting gone on here by the 2 of them, but the Rolling Thunder not quite ready again. Not quite yet. They'll get the glimpse back, but no further damage to come into onto the Naga Siren, so Yatoro will be fine.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication there, it seems. The shield crash wasn't used on the hero. The glimpse came in a little bit later.
And they've got their eyes on Arme. Obviously, they know that play was made by a couple of PSG.LGD inside their own jungle, but Arme, he's out of reach of the Remnant. He's away. Space is there, down bottom. Faith Beyond continues to push. The tier 1 to fall already here on Spirit's side of the map.
Yeah, I think this is the most shocking part of this early game, because I expected the LIMMP kind of get zoned out by the Naga, and the Naga Illusions to defend them, but...
Let's see if they can get Army. They've got 4 heroes working on him right now.
Ravage.
He has the ult up. He's on the retreat up to the high ground, but they'll be able to get in front of him, close off his escape. Spirit will finally be able to claim their first kill here in the first 10 minutes, getting themselves on the board.
Yeah, and this is a huge kill because it allows for Team Spirit to now start firing back and taking over this top lane area. They need this tower to fall. And meanwhile, this is the response you see from PSG.LGD. They rotate their heroes mid to try to force Spirit away from the top tower and force them to come defend their mid tower as the more valuable tower for the later Roshan.
And they're hitting these timings, PSG.LGD, no doubt about it, and Spirit just having to let them do so.
Yeah, I mean, this Lycan really has becoming the big X factor. I don't think Spirit expected him to be this strong out of the laning phase. And now Am is going to comfortably move into his triangle and start farming up. I think once he hits that Diffusal Blade, look to see Spirit try to, LGD try to make some move. But I think if LGD gets the farm up right now, they feel like they've hit they have enough map space to where they're comfortable playing around their cooldowns and just waiting for the Disruptor ultimate to come online, wait for the Lycan to finish up his items, and then just play around his forms together with the power runes that the Kingslayer is securing.
I mean, in this sort of game where, you know, both teams playing as carefully as they are, just 1 to 2, coming up to 11 minutes, do you look at the Naga Siren and feel that for Spirit, if they can keep this game in pretty calm waters and not allow the early aggression from PSG.LGD to get to them too much, this Naga Siren will be able to carry out in the later stages, or do PSG.LGD always have the means to deal with her?
I think to some extent you are happy, but I feel like you wanted the laning phase to go better so that LGD's timings come later into the game. So knowing that your lanes haven't quite gone the way you wanted them to, they must feel like, okay, at some point now, once LGD gets items, they're gonna come running at us.
Look at this top, nothing to say. He's going to get the lead in onto Collapse. He'll drop the Static Storm as well, putting no chance of Collapse being able to return fire quite yet with a potential Ravage. Doesn't matter though, he's able to walk out to the side. They'll go for the glimpse back on him. He'll simply look for the TP out, and there's nothing to put a stop to it. Collapse, realizing his strength here with a Hood of Defiance, he's got enough tank ability to just TP out of it all. That's the Rolling Thunder and the Static Storm put to waste there by PSG.LGD.
Yeah, great jukes. He just dodged out the Kingslayer spells, and once the Rolling Thunder missed, he knew that he was safe. Glimpse is used, TP out. Just great presence of mind there from Collapse, knowing exactly how to play his situation out and get out safely. I love what LGD are doing though. If you take a look at the top lane, this is one of the things I loved about how OG ran the Wisp in the position 3. They recognize that Wisp's item timings are really important for you to keep these heroes alive, because if you think about how healing works in Dota, heroes keep growing their hero pool, like health pools, but the healing items are static amounts of heals. So 250 health on a hero that has 1000 HP is like a lot more than it is on a hero that has 3000 HP. So if you hit these heal item timings early into the game, that really enables you, and they've given XinQ the top lane to sit here and farm comfortably.
I'll see down bottom. Why, in quite a dangerous position here. Inside the jungle, it seems Spirit in TORONTOTOKYO will be quick to put a stop to it.
Naga Siren also closing in on the Mantha, and by the looks of it, she's going to get that item before Earth even completes his Diffusal Blade. So Yatoro's probably very happy in this game, feeling comfortable with how it's going right now.
And when you look at sort of what they have against him, do you feel that a lot of the map is pretty safe for this Naga Siren to farm in? As long as the Song and the TP's up, will he get away most of the time?
I mean, most likely. I think the tricky thing here, if you're LGD, is how do we deal with the illusions? How do we deal with the Naga putting illusions in our jungle that will scout out our movement and force us to play away from Roshan? Because as Dire here, No-Tail and Seb also very touched on this a lot. The Ursa wants Aegis. This is his most key item, especially when you're going up against big cooldowns like Ravage, like Finger, Earth Splitter. You know these long cooldowns, people don't want to use them on your Aegis, so it's going to be important for him to get it. And the Naga, as long as he's able to play top and put illusions in the top Dire jungle, it's really hard. Like, what are you going to do? Because their heroes don't have ways to effectively kill the illusions.
And you feel that Spirit, their lineup, it's geared up pretty well to deal with the fact that PSG.LGD will look for the Roshan. They won't be afraid of turning up and trying to put a stop to it.
I mean, I think that's where the information game is going to be important. Can Spirit actually use the vision that they're getting to fight off LGD's timing? Because I think that is like the big question mark. Is the Ursa going to be too strong for you to kill? Or is it enough to just sleep away half the wolf fight duration and then try to fight them afterwards?
I think we're definitely going to see, Yatoro starts to increase the lead against Arme. Bottom lane, White. He'll drop the Static Storm, trying to save himself, but collapsing. Miposhka will run him down, take him out. Faith Beyond, he's looking to get involved in this with the backup of NothingToSay being brought over by XinQ. They will get Miposhka. Can the three of them get collapsed? They're trying to commit their best onto him. They will leave the two cores behind as XinQ trying to let NothingToSay and Faith Beyond finish the job, but they just can't. The damage isn't there. TORONTOTOKYO was also starting to sweep over, so PSG.LGD, they have to back up and just accept the trade as it is, the support for support.
Yeah, and Collapse now knowing that, you know what, they can't actually kill me without the Ursa. It's only the Ursa that can threaten my life. Just comfortably sits bottom alone, pushes out the waves, gaining as much farm as he can. And in the meanwhile, Yatoro just pushes out top lane, farming out all these top jungle camps. If you take a look at the dire jungle, there are no camps alive.
I mean, Yatoro's farm, he is creeping further and further ahead of Arme's Ursa. You know, if there's not going to be any blood being spilt and it is just the creeps dying, this Naga Siren is just going to charge ahead in regards to farm. Yatoro is going to be huge.
Yeah, and he's going for a very interesting build. He's buying the Aghanim Scepter, and the Aghanim Scepter allows him to use his Ensnare on heroes that are either slept by his ulti or spell immune. So this will give them a way to deal with BKBs. And traditionally, the way you deal with, for example, a Tidehunter Ravage is by buying a BKB. Or in this case, you have the Pangolier with Rolling Thunder. So he's actually going to be able to lock down the Pangolier during his Rolling Thunder with his net. It's a very, very smart item decision here from the Naga.
A very long lockdown and reduced cooldown and increased cast range. He's going to have no trouble finding the target that he wishes every single team fight.
Yep, LGD also heavily reliant on the Pangolier for the lockdown, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him use it, specifically just to make sure the Pango can't roll over his teammates.
And I guess sort of the smart approach with this item is the fact that this sort of deals with this timing where PSG.LGD is going to be more ready to fight than he is, right? He can just sort of be the anti-fight. He just stops it, gets out of there, can keep playing his game. And certainly one of the crucial parts of PSG.LGD's initiation, it's shut down completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Spirit, that's the name of the game, right? Can we drag this game on? And literally slowing him down during his roll, forcing his timing to be unable to be used, is just exactly what Spirit are looking for in this game. But yeah, we're starting to see items gear up on LGD's side. If you take a look at the Lycan, his timing is really going to be the big thing. But I think Spirit have won the early game in that there's no Roshan killed yet. And that means the second Roshan is going to spawn slower, and that's no Aghanim Shard for Ursa for the first half hour of the game.
I mean, if you're PSG.LGD right now, what sort of calls are you making? Are you looking at an item that's round the corner and then saying we've got to go? Do they need to go right now? Yeah, how urgent do they need to be?
I think they looks like they're gearing up to look for an opportunity, right? You finished up the Helm of the Overlord. The Ursa now has his Diffusal Blade. Your Wisp is closing in on mech. You already have the Holy Locket. So there's a lot of nice tools for LGD to take a straight up team fight if Team Spirit presented to them.
Siame. It's going to start with a bit of a tickle onto TORONTOTOKYO. The Remnant holds back the bear. Quick jump out with the steps. NothingToSay. He's trying to close in. Does he want to keep diving underneath the tier 2? Maybe trying to get some vision for a setup from the Disruptor. But now, Team Spirit, they're far enough away. NothingToSay. We're going to hit with the Swashbuckler. Procs of the Maelstrom. Nearly bringing him down. But TORONTOTOKYO gets away. On as low HP as he is, Collapse also able to TP out. As there's nothing else to stop his escape. Team Spirit, they're able to avoid the move completely by PSG.LGD once again.
Yeah, and they didn't even have to involve the Naga. So during all of this time, Yatoro's still just gaining farm. He's 2,000 gold ahead of the Ursa already.
Oh my, this is going to be a problem.
He's getting out of control. He's only, I believe he just finished his Aghanim Scepter too. So he has Manta and Aghanim Scepter at 17 minutes into the game. He's crazy farm.
This is, I mean, Yatoro, it really has been eyes on him throughout the whole tournament and performance of Spirit. Top lane setups there with the net. That's the mid gone. NothingToSay going down. Yatoro instant song TP as he knows the response will be there from PSG.LGD. Gets out. They cannot catch him. Yatoro will continue to farm.
Yeah, this is a really important kill, but by forcing the Naga Siren to TP out, LGD now have the option of potentially taking back control of their jungle. So this is going to be their objective for the next minute here. As you see, they're going to try to contest this Tidehunter. They know the Naga Siren is not present.
See what they can do about Collapse. Jump already in onto the Disruptor. They're looking to burst. Collapse is holding on to the Ravage for now. Static Storm's down. Collapse gets himself out of the side of the Ravage. Onto the two of them. They blow up Arme. It's 3 dead at the moment on PSG.LGD. IO also caught out. XinQ to fall.
That's absolutely massive.
My goodness.
Team Spirit's so aware of everything. They know that this is what LGD wants to do. The Naga TP'd out, they're going to come contest us. They position their heroes perfectly. You see the kinetic field come out, but there's no static storm to fall because you have the Lion in position to interrupt that. It's just Spirit are playing so well right now. They're just recognizing where LGD's timings are.
It just seems like already, just in the first 18 minutes of this game 1 of the grand finals, Team Spirit, they're just completely in the heads of PSG.LGD. The way that PSG.LGD wanted to play, it's just not happening. They're crumbling, they're falling apart, and Yatoro, he's just going to continue the glory. Mid lane, the setups there onto the Pango, NothingToSay goes down. Another kill for this Naga Siren. I do not know or see how on earth PSG.LGD is going to stop this man this game.
He's getting out of control, and if you look at the Lycan, you can see he decided to not go for the Aghanims. He's going for drums. They're gearing up for a quicker timing in this game. I think the mechanism comes out on XinQ. They get the BKB finished up on Ame, and they're going to look for some sort of team fight. But the way that Team Spirit are abusing the vision, if you take a look at the map, like, there are almost no dire wards anywhere. Radiant are in firm control of where the vision is. And the only ward that they have, I think Miposhka literally just pinged out. There you go. Just controlling the vision. They have more information to play with, and this is what's allowing Team Spirit to constantly be reading LGD and how they're moving around the map.
Look to their top tower.
Bottom, TORONTOTOKYO, he'll show his face, but not worried about any catch from PSG.LGD. They just don't have the members around. Space is made, the tier 2 tower going down at the top lane. There won't be any defense from PSG.LGD here as Spirit just continue to hit the timings, take the objectives at a pace that PSG.LGD's lineup will be incredibly jealous of. This is what they wanted to be doing, and it's happening the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. They are starting to finish up some key items though. You see the Kingslayer now has a blink dagger, so they have an easier form of initiation rather than just trying to run at them with a roll. So if Team Spirit heroes start getting cocky and playing alone, there is a way for LGD to respond and punish. Very close to this mechanism on the Wisp as well. It's just 100 gold away, and this really is the Wisp's big timing. You have both the Holy Locket and the mech to heal up the Ursa, and Ursa's closing in on BKB, so I'm smelling a fight in the waters, Owen.
Yeah, the next one, it's got to be strong from PSG.LGD. Another rough fight, and this game could quickly fall out of control.
Yeah, and as strong as a Naga Siren is when she's playing this kind of map game and she's able to get the pickoffs, she isn't the strongest hero to fight up against the Ursa. So if you think about how these heroes function against each other, the Naga can't really fight up against the Ursa straight up. So if LGD is able to corner Team Spirit and they can take a fight where it's just a straight up 5v5 with the BKB and the mechanism finished, that could be an amazing timing for them. But Spirit don't want to allow that, so they're deciding to smoke up and make the move on their own first.
Let's see if they catch PSG whilst they least expect it. BKB is out for Ame.
Why?
So let's start things off. They'll go for Y. Take the Disruptor out of the action.
And Disruptor is a really key kill, because if the Disruptor isn't alive in the fight, they can't really go for Collapse. Look at Collapse's itemization. This is so smart. He's gone for the Yules together with the Hood and a Blink Dagger. And why is this interesting? Because if you're inside of a Static Storm, and you Yule yourself, and you have the Hood up, and there's no physical damage to hit you, you can actually just blink straight out of it. So just really, really smart item decisions coming out of Collapse here.
Well, we'll definitely have to look out for that play. Would be a rather impressive outpost, taken back into the hands of Spirit. And keeping full control around this area, this Roshan, as you say, which is just sort of it's a long distant dream, it seems, for PSG.LGD. They're never getting anywhere close to this pit until they're able to find the fight that they've been hunting for the whole 22 minutes of this game. They'll smoke up now, ready to go. PSG.LGD, they have to find success here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a quick look at LIMMP before the fight breaks out, he's decided not to go for the wolf fight. They recognize that they won't be able to play the strat the way they intended for it to. So he's going to be building up some damage items as well.
Smoke. We'll dispel here on TORONTOTOKYO. Same as said for PSG.LGD, they know that both teams are waiting here up to the side of the river on the respective edges, and now Ame, he's going to sneak into the Roche, start to try and take it out here.
Yeah, for the first time in this game, they've been allowed to take back the Dire Jungle and try to apply some pressure to Roche. So I expect Team Spirit also recognize that, you know what, we've given up the Dire Jungle. What would LGD do with that? Well, they would go to Roshan. So
let's see Spirit check this out. Ame's going to slow it down a little bit. The Spirit's coming in. They know that they know. Stop in. Onto the IO. They're going to lead it. There's the jump straight away. They're looking to burst through the IO. And the Aegis to fall into the hands of Ame. Ame's able to get the Roche kill, get the Aegis. They get the Static Storm down. The Rolling Thunder as well. They've controlled TORONTOTOKYO, but he's out with an Astral Step. TORONTOTOKYO actually makes it out of there. Dissimulate as well. PSG.LGD may have got the Roche. They may have got the Aegis. TORONTOTOKYO will still go down as Faith Beyond was able to wrap around and find him.
Yeah, really nice play there from LGD. What an unfortunate event there for XinQ. He gets pulled into the Roche pit. You really want to stay outside with a tether, but stay tethered to Ahmed, but he takes one step too close, and then the Wisp comes inside the Roche pit, which gives Spirit the perfect opportunity there to go in, but I don't think they were quite expecting the BKB, so all in all, I think they're happy with this. You know, they gave up the Aegis, but it took them 24 minutes to get there, so Roshan number 2, which really is Ursa's key timing in this game, to get that shard so that he can play most of the fights enraged, is going to come much, much later than they expected.
But definitely the beginnings of PSG.LGD getting this game back under their control.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they need to abuse the fact that they have the Aegis to try to gain some map control here. You want to try to get the lanes pushed out, force Team Spirit to play reactive to you, and then once you are able to corner them in, you're going to find that team fight that you so much want. So the hard part here for them is how do we deal with the Naga illusions, and how do we stop them from just using illusions to push the lanes back and make us play the map game.
I mean, yeah, which hero are you sort of putting in charge of dealing with that?
I mean, they picked the Pangolier as an answer, right? And if you look at his itemization, he's going for the Maelstrom. He's trying to have some more damage and have some more presence to kill the illusions. And luckily for him, Yatoro hasn't really bought any items that tank the illusions up. He's more so building his hero up so that he's able to fight into the Ursa. He's going for that Bloodthorn. It looks like he's going to follow it up with a Heart. So he's also gone for some sort of hybrid build where he can actually get solo kills if he catches people out alone.
And for Spirit right now, despite the Aegis falling into the hands of Arme, are you still very willing to fight? How much do you need to respect this Aegis on the bear?
I think, oh, teamfight bottom. XinQ's in trouble.
XinQ will manage to make his way around the Remnant. Quick tether back over to the safety of Arme.
Yeah, I mean, for Spirit, I think you want to fight, but it needs to be the right fight. You ideally want Yatoro to try to force some hero around the map, and then once you know that the PSG.LGD's heroes aren't in position to connect, then you can go for some sort of smoke. Then you can make that move. But the difficulty for them is you can't necessarily go on the Ursa. You don't have the tools to bring him down at the start of a team fight.
Got the eyes on the two of them bottom. PSG.LGD, Arme and XinQ. On their own down here for now. There is a relocate available, and of course with the Aegis, Arme a very hard target to jump. Pressure continues from Yatoro and his illusions in the mid lane, keeping these waves shoved right up towards the base of PSG.LGD.
And down bottom, Team Spirit are just waiting patiently, but LGD have recognized that they TP'd bottom, right? So it's very likely that their heroes are stuck on that side of the map. So here they come sweeping up towards the dire jungle, understanding that Spirit cannot already have moved their pieces from all the way from bottom back to top after the TP response to the tier 2 tower. So just smart play coming out from both sides. I think we saw this in the VP Spirit series. Team Spirit are going to be really, really smart about only fighting under their vision, or where they feel comfortable that they have the information they need to take the fight. I think in this way, LGD's like maybe sometimes a little bit more reckless and will play with like assumptions. Like if they see you bottom, they might try to aim to fight you top, which we saw earlier. And in the early game, you know, Spirit read that perfectly. So if Spirit's able to get a good read like that, you might see them pounce.
Yatoro very ready to enter the fights now with his aggressive item with the Bloodthorn complete. They're able to get that locked down with the stuns of the Lion and the Tide. That amp up of the damage will allow them to just destroy whichever hero they target.
Yep, and something that I noticed Team Spirit do a lot when they feel like they're on the back foot is take over the enemy triangle and try to set up control here. And this is something that I'm sure LGD are aware of too, but Lycan's in trouble.
Stuck with the setup here. You see the damage here with the Bloodthorn really amping up. It's not quite enough though. Faith Beyond makes it away, has the plate mail and Hyperstone done already onto the way to the AC. An additional bit of armor certainly helping out.
Yeah, and this is an opening now for Spirit. The Lycan form is down. One of the big tools in this team fight is gone. So in the other series when we saw LGD play the tiny Lycan, the Lycan's form himself doesn't really matter. It was all about that wolf bite. But in this game, because he decided to itemize his own hero, the 60 seconds of downtime here is quite big. And you see LGD pulling back their pieces, not willing to play aggressive on the top lane anymore, recognizing that they don't have all the tools necessary to win a team fight.
Team Spirit remaining in this whole area of the triangle. Yatoro slowly sieging onto the tier 1 tower, seeing what sort of reaction they can force out of PSG.LGD. 20 seconds until that Aegis has gone off Arme. Unlikely to find a fight with that still in his hands, so the game once again falling into a bit of a risky territory for PSG.LGD, at least until they can hold off for that second round of Roshan.
Yeah, and Illusions just slowly chipping away at this tower. They don't really deal a lot of damage, but it's something that, you know, LGD might respond to. So they're keeping heroes close by that in case LGD just feel like, oh, it's just an illusion hitting our tower, they're ready to pounce. And you see, NothingToSay reads that too. He understands based on the fact that there's nothing happening on any of the other lanes. Both our middle lane is pushing out, top lane's pushing out. Lycan's getting a lot of farm from all these waves right now. He recognizes all the Team Spirit heroes are bottom here.
Yeah, he has to be so careful showing his face to clear the wave.
Yeah, both teams just are reading the map really, really well. And I think Spirit, this play that they've done has been so effective throughout all the tournament. But you know LGD's done their homework.
Gonna spot Collapse around, glimpse back, but Blinks there. Collapse breaks the combo, the setup. Instantly gonna go for the TP out. If they got anything to put a stop to it, they do straight away. They're able to get the setup onto Collapse. He'll look to run, but the damage is done. PSG.LGD, they catch and kill off the tide.
Yeah, and this is a result, right, of Team Spirit has been in the lower bracket, so they've been playing so many games. LGD has that information based on previous games of where does Team Spirit go when they feel like they're behind? What do they do? What is their approach? And I think LGD is one of the best teams at the tournament at just abusing this information that they're gaining about the teams. They understand what is Team Spirit specifically going to do? How do they approach the situation? And they find that smoke because of that. They're playing most of this game with very, very limited vision. I really want to point that out. Like they barely have vision of what's going on the map.
Well, even without their tide, Spirit maintaining their aggressive posture over PSG.LGD's half of the map and already looking for action once again around the bottom tier 2. See if they find the setup. They've got the X. They're going to look to jump in. Static Storm's going to be put down from wide. Stops the backup coming in. Still though, is it the burst enough? It is. They take down Arme. That burn for the Bloodthorn. It's enough to send the bear back to base.
That's an absolutely massive kill. And I think XinQ felt like he could keep him alive. There was no relocate out. So next team fight, here's the tricky part. Do you relocate Arma out as soon as he gets hexed? Because Spirit has now proven to you that we have the abilities to burst your heroes. That's why he's also in trouble.
There should be another one. It's definitely another one, Yatoro. Target to target and over towards the mid. The BKB having to be popped by NothingToSay. See if Yatoro's got the setup. He has. There's the initial route. See if they've got any further follow-up here. The relocate, they'll take him out. They've got to keep NothingToSay safe. Yep. Get him away from Team Spirit. As Team Spirit, they're pushing down the mid onto another tier 2 tower.
Nice play by Faith Beyond. Tanks that either Remnant with one of his wolves. But Team Spirit, they're doing this so smart, right? We heard a draft panel touch on it. Fighting 5 versus 5 is not really where they're strong. They want to delay this game, keep finding these pickups, try to find these opportunities where they can get a jump, burst someone really quickly, and use the fact that we have Ravage to reset, we have Naga Sleep to reset, which is forcing LGD to be very careful about how they use their cooldowns. And this is leading to them they're just playing this game very well. And these small decisions that they're making, where you notice they're not really charging into the enemy. They're not giving LGD the kind of fights that they're used to getting.
I mean, and with the heart done on Yatoro, you know, 26 armor, 3,500 HP, how hard is it for PSG.LGD to really ever get on top of him now and take him out with the focus of Arme's Ursa?
I think the biggest thing is that the illusions are tankier. If you take a look at how Yatoro is playing the fights, he's staying very far back with his primary hero, using the Bloodthorn and using the Ensnare, and having the illusions deal the damage. And if LGD really don't have heroes that want to hit illusions. Ursa wants to sit on top of a hero, like just keep hitting him, keep hitting him, keep hitting him. You don't want to hit these illusions where you get like 5 to 6 hits in, and then you got to switch over to the next one. That's a way of making the overpower a fairly useless ability.
Of course, that timer that they'll be having in their mind, the Roshan. Potential respawn in just over a minute.
And that minute feels really long, Owen. Let me tell you, right now, if you're PSG.LGD, that minute is coming very, very slowly. We see Tidehunter starting to eye up a Shiva's guard. That's going to make it even harder for the Ursa to stick on top of him and deal damage. They also just bought a Force Staff on the Elder Titan. I think for Team Spirit, they're recognizing that, you know what? LGD's not going to be able to kill us if we're just able to kite out their BKBs. And that's why you notice, like, NothingToSay also has bought a BKB. I think the idea of this is he wants to try to use it to break out of, to have a longer period of time in the teamfights where he's playing under Magic Community, because there's just so much lockdown coming out from Team Spirit. Ghost Scepter on Mira. TORONTOTOKYO has Yules and Kaya Sanj also eyeing up into Shiva's guard, but I would be surprised if he doesn't change it up. And on the courier, he has a full BKB too, so I'm really liking Spirit for this game one. They're in a very dominant position here. They're scaling up very nicely.
With the timer, they know it's going to be around the point where PSG.LGD are going to be checking out that Roche pit, looking for the respawn. Spirit, they're heading over to try and do something about the presence. They're going to jump straight in on the XinQ, burst with the finger. As the IO goes down, no buyback. XinQ cannot get back into this fight. NothingToSay has to roll out with the Thunder.
So this is huge, right? Both Lycanform was committed, as well as the Pangolier roll. So if the Roshan spawns, which it does, this is free Roshan for Team Spirit. And remember how much we talked about how badly you want this for LGD. It doesn't even matter if the Sagas comes to use for Yatoro, they just want to make sure that PSG.LGD doesn't get it. And this is the only shard, Aghanim shard, that is dropped from Roshan throughout the entire game. So that's 1,400 gold that now Am is going to have to spend for himself.
I mean, it just goes to show how solid of a position that Spirit are in, where just a couple of ults expired by PSG.LGD and a dead IO, and suddenly the rest of the lineup, they cannot do anything about Spirit taking the Roche. Continuing their lead here, 7k up. I mean, Yatoro, he himself, 7k difference between him and Arme's farm. Well on the way to having a butterfly complete for the next bit of action as well.
Yeah, and with this butterfly, he actually has the option of now utilizing his own hero too, once the situation looks good for him, because the Ursa can't just burst him. The bash is going to miss, there's a proc chance on the bash, there's a proc chance on the miss, so it's going to be hard for the Ursa to just lock him down. And just very intelligently itemized by the Naga here. For the early part of the game, when he knew it was going to be a map control game, he bought the Orchid, he bought the Ags, played for the map, looked for those pickoffs, and those key pickoffs have really led to the situation that they're in the game now. Gembot picked up by Y. You can feel, they feel the pressure of the vision. They're not getting the vision that they're used to. They don't have the information that they're used to playing with in this game. Miposhka is just shutting them down. Oh. And Rage forced out.
Yeah, they're just going to have to stay well away from Spirit. 4 very, very scary minutes of Aegis on TORONTOTOKYO. PSG.LGD, they do not want to fight into this. But every minute that passes where they cannot look to brawl is going to be another just minute of pain here with the increasing momentum and mass of the cause of Team Spirit.
Yep. And surely right now, PSG.LGD are discussing how do we take a team fight? What is it that we need to do? How do we need to use our abilities in order to catch Team Spirit off guard? And for Team Spirit, I think a lot of the communication is like, we need to make sure that we do not let LGD come out on the map. We don't want them to get out and farm. As long as we can keep them locked into their base, we can get all the items that we want, and then we get the fight that we want. And everything's going to happen on our terms. So you see, they rotate over to the top side here, expecting LGD to run out on the top side of the map. And here we go.
It's time to look for that fight, PSG.LGD. Execution has to be immaculate.
Yeah, they're scouting with the wolves. They're getting the info they want.
They're looking to try and start to collapse, but Collapse is able to blink away from the lead-in. They'll turn their attention over towards Yatoro, but with the instead looks to hold him back. NothingToSay is able to get out of it, as they'll get the static storm set up onto the Naga Siren, but the illusions, they're just forcing back. Why? Swashbuckle's going to miss. I mean, Yatoro's barely been scratched. He's back up to full HP. PSG.LGD, they're able to run back to base, but Collapse, he's in with the ravage onto the two of them. Silence down onto Arme, put the BKB, turn towards TORONTOTOKYO, but they cannot stay for this fight. They've got to get back to the high ground, back to the base, as PSG.LGD have to charge back to the safety of their high ground as quickly as they head out. Collapse. He's going to look for the set appear outside of the base. Another BKB force. Faith Beyond trying to head back to the safety of his teammates. The ensnare locks him down. The illusion's starting to go to work. Remnant left into position. They drag it back with a split into the finger. My goodness, the Lycan gets absolutely destroyed. And TORONTOTOKYO's not done. Diving up to the tier 4s, committing with a dissimulate. He's trying to go for XinQ. Will die underneath the towers, but he's got the Aegis. He's ready for round 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the micro decision making from Team Spirit is so beautiful to watch. I think every time a hero pops BKB, within half a second, there's a Naga net flying at it. And in the fight, you saw Ame pop BKB to try to man up and fight. And then the net comes, immediately he has to pop his ultimate. He can't use the enrage the way he wants to. He's forced to use it defensively all the time just to break the net, just to be able to stick on top of the targets.
And just trying to clear out these illusions now. It seems all but impossible. The Rex dying, the melee Rex will fall. They get the jump on Yatoro, but they've already lost Y at the start of the action. BKB from Arme, he's trying to stay on target, but Yatoro is able to sing their way back to safety. And now he's ready to go back in. The song ends, TORONTOTOKYO, BKB up, jump over with the Remnant, grabs back the answer. Arme disappears in a matter of seconds. XinQ to fall as well. GG is called. And my goodness this. What a buttery smooth start to the grand finals here for Team Spirit.
Oh,
They couldn't have played this any better, Aiden. This is how you dream of entering a grand finals at the International.
Yes, absolutely. Everything they're doing, they're firing on all cylinders. Their macro understanding of the game, how LGD might try to sneak out of base, they're in position to cover it. And then once that fight happens, they're immediately ready to respond in the right way.